Hi besties! Welcome to my cozy corner on YouTube, where stories come to life one vibe at a time. If you're into chill tales, late night thoughts, and a little sprinkle of drama, you're totally in the right place. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so we can hang out again soon. Now grab a snack, get comfy, and let's dive in. The night Lu Jingchi went on a business trip, everyone kept it from me. They brought his little childhood sweetheart to him, the one who had caused me to miscarry and was sent abroad to learn some manners. Even though he didn't want to, he still kept her by his side as his secretary for 3 years. During those 3 years, Lu Jingchi promised me countless times that there was absolutely nothing going on between them. Yet, on the day she returned to the country, his childhood sweetheart stepped off the plane with a very pregnant belly. Lu Jingchi looked at me, his voice full of helplessness. Huan threatened me with her life. I couldn't refuse. But the person I love the most is still you. You can raise the child. That day, I produced the divorce papers I had prepared long ago. After waiting for him for 3 years, it wasn't like I hadn't made preparations. 01. 3 years ago, Lu Jingchi's little childhood sweetheart pushed me down the stairs. The 7-month-old child in my womb was lost. Afterward, Lu Jingchi was furious and immediately sent her abroad that very night, even declaring that he would never let her return. But 3 years later, he was holding his pregnant childhood sweetheart as they stepped off the plane together. Seeing me produce the divorce papers, his hand that had been resting on her waist finally dropped. His voice was hoarse. "Xiaoying, does it really have to be this dramatic? The child is innocent after all." Several close friends who had secretly hidden this from me and brought her to his side also tried to persuade me. "Sister-in-law, Huan just wants to give Jingchi a child. She wasn't intentionally trying to steal him from you. You're overreacting." My fingers trembled uncontrollably. Clearly, just last night Lu Jingchi had still been assuring me that there was absolutely nothing going on between them. I licked my bitter lips and pushed the divorce papers towards him. Lu Jingchi looked at me for a moment, then took them and tore them to shreds. "Want a divorce? Never." I calmly took another completed set of divorce papers from my bag and softly asked him, "Lu Jingchi, when you were lying to me, did you never think I would demand a divorce? Or did you think I loved you so much that I could raise the child of the person who killed my daughter with my own hands? If my daughter were still alive, she would be 3 years old this year. But it's okay. Her father has forgotten her. It's enough that I still remember." Lu Jingchi's lips moved slightly, instinctively wanting to defend his little childhood sweetheart. Huan has already paid the price. She was alone overseas, couldn't eat well, couldn't sleep well. Isn't that enough? Beside them stood the housekeeper and the personal bodyguard he himself had sent to watch over them 24 hours a day. Being exiled abroad for a week was considered punishment. I didn't know, nor did I want to argue anymore. Just as I finished speaking, his little childhood sweetheart, Huan, suddenly burst into uncontrollable sobs. She nestled into his arms, her face full of fear. "Brother Jingchi, you can hit me, scold me, but please don't send me abroad alone again. I beg you." Then she turned to me, her eyes red and swollen, pleading, "Miss Chow, please don't blame Brother Jingchi. I was the one who seduced him first. I will use the child in my womb to atone for my sins." As soon as she finished speaking, she tried to rush straight into the middle of the road. He immediately held her tightly in his arms, the look in his eyes towards me completely devoid of any guilt. "Xiaoying, this is clearly a joyous occasion. Do you have to turn it into this to be satisfied? You can't have any more children in the future. Huan was afraid you'd be heartbroken, so she used her life to pressure me. She went through so much hardship to get pregnant. Don't be unreasonable." Tears immediately welled up in my eyes. He looked at me, paused slightly, and the anger on his face gradually disappeared. He reached out his hand, intending to wipe away my tears as he always did. But Huan in his arms suddenly cried out in pain. Before I could think, he immediately pushed me away, without hesitation picking her up and rushing straight to the hospital. I sat down heavily on the ground, staring blankly at the scene, and suddenly remembered. The day I miscarried, his childhood sweetheart and I fell down the stairs together. The first person he picked up wasn't me. 02. I dragged my swollen ankle, and it wasn't until it was completely dark that I finally arrived home. I tried the key code several times, but it wouldn't open. As if suddenly understanding something, I let out a soft, self-deprecating laugh. I didn't try again. At 1 in the morning, Huan opened the door from the inside, wearing a nightgown. She saw me sitting on the doorstep. She leaned weakly into his arms, tears welling up in her eyes, ready to fall at any moment. Brother Jingchi, Miss Chow is still angry with me, isn't she? Maybe I should just leave. He held his just-comforted childhood sweetheart tightly and looked at me coldly. Xiaoying, the matter of Huan staying home to rest is not up for discussion. It's useless for you to object. I moved my legs, which had gone numb from sitting for so long, and without looking at him said, "The door code has been changed. I can't get in." He paused, intending to say something more. I raised my head, cutting him off. "My phone is broken. I can't contact you." Huan's crying grew louder, her voice full of remorse. "Brother Jingchi, you were the one who told me to change the passcode, worried that someone with bad intentions might enter the house and cause trouble for me. I forgot to tell Ms. Chow. Clearly I was locked out, but she was the one acting pitiful." I went upstairs, not bothering to listen to his soft, comforting voice. The bedroom door was wide open. On the bed were 2 pillows, the blankets and sheets in disarray. There was no room for me anymore. I didn't go in but opened the room that had been prepared for our daughter. But why had all the things inside disappeared? I paused for a second, a painful cry escaping my throat. Lu Jingchi immediately abandoned Huan beside him and rushed upstairs. He held me tightly in his arms as tears streamed down my face. I clutched his arm tightly, my mind blank, only repeatedly asking, "Where are our daughter's things? Where are they?" Lu Jingchi was also stunned by the scene in the room. Instinctively, he turned to look at Huan standing at the door. She was also crying, but her crying was much more beautiful than mine. "Brother Jingchi, I just wanted to tidy up a room for our child. I asked you and you said I could do whatever I wanted. Did I do something wrong again? I always make people dislike me." She held her stomach, her face as pale as if she were about to faint. Before Lu Jingchi could let go of me, I lunged towards her, grabbing her shoulders tightly and refusing to let go. "Where are they? Where did you throw the things in this room?" Lu Jingchi had to pry my fingers off one by one, leaving bloodstains, before he could separate us. He shielded Huan, pushing me out of the room. "Xiaoying, our daughter is already gone. Keeping those things won't do any good. Just throw them away." A slap echoed across his face, a flicker of pain flashing in his eyes. He tilted his head, looking at me as if I had truly gone mad. Huan stood in front of him, also raising her hand and slapping me. Her face contorted, her eyes glaring at me without blinking. "This slap is on behalf of Brother Jingchi. No one is allowed to touch him in front of me. Only you treat those unlucky things like treasures, don't you? Well, go look for them in the trash can." I ignored the pain on my face and immediately dragged my limping leg, hurrying downstairs. 03. I walked along the row of trash cans in the neighborhood, searching each one. By the time dawn broke, I still hadn't found anything. Rainwater mixed with my hair and dripped into my eyes. I wiped it away with my dirty hand. A black umbrella opened above my head. Lu Jingchi lowered his eyes to look at me, his gaze cold and devoid of clear emotion. "Xiaoying, come back with me. Don't look anymore." I didn't stop what I was doing. He looked at me for a long time, then suddenly pulled me away from the trash can. "The person is gone. Are those things really that important? How long are you going to keep deceiving yourself?" I raised my head, meeting his deep, dark eyes. There wasn't a trace of longing or regret for our daughter in them. My voice couldn't help but choke with tears. Lu Jingchi, you have another child now, but I don't. You've forgotten our daughter, but I haven't. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly, his hand tightening around the umbrella handle. I haven't forgotten. But what do you want me to do? Live with that pain for the rest of my life? He paused for a moment, then continued. If you make such a scene, what will outsiders think of Huan? She's carrying my child and is already suffering. I don't want her to be hurt anymore. My fingertips were bleeding, and I didn't want to look at him again. I continued to rummage through each trash can. Just as he was about to lose his patience, I finally saw that familiar image. The small outfit, the small blanket, the small pillow I had prepared for our daughter, stuffed into a plastic bag. I held it tightly like a treasure, as if her scent still lingered on it. But in the next second, Lu Jingchi suddenly snatched it away and threw it straight into a nearby puddle. The pink fabric was instantly covered in mud, losing all sense of familiarity. I rushed over like a madwoman and tried to fish it out of the puddle, ignoring the black mud filling my mouth. He pulled me up from the ground, forcefully holding my face, confronting my tear-filled red eyes. Xiaoying, our daughter didn't even get a chance to be born. She's dead for 3 years already. 04. I didn't struggle anymore, just stared blankly at him. Actually, I always knew. My daughter was dead. When he never left Zhang Huan's side, I saw it with my own eyes. Over the years, he had never mentioned our daughter even once. If I also forgot her, then no one in this world would remember her anymore. I kept those old things, and I never forced him to reminisce with me. I just placed them in an empty room. Was even that unbearable? Seeing that I still seemed dazed, Lu Jingchi threw away the umbrella in his hand. He held me tightly in the heavy rain. Ying, Huan has already agreed with me that after the baby is born, she won't bother us anymore. That child is our own flesh and blood. You can cherish it, love it, and make up for all the affection you still owe our daughter through it. I stopped resisting, letting him hold my ice-cold body. Seeing me being obedient, Lu Jingchi gently kissed my forehead. He hurriedly bent down to pick up the umbrella he had just thrown away. Just as he was about to open it to shield me, a soaking wet Zhang Huan ran over, her eyes full of desperate pain. He immediately turned around, abandoning me, and rushed towards the other woman. He held the umbrella completely over her, his voice full of tenderness. You're pregnant. Why did you run out in this rain? Zhang Huan bit her lip lightly and reached out to hug his waist. I saw you hadn't come back for a long time and was worried about you. Brother Jingchi, please don't be angry with me, okay? Lu Jingchi didn't say anything, but his arms around her tightened even more. He looked towards me, still drenched in the rain, and explained. Huan is weak. Let me take her home first. I'll be right back. I softly said, picked up the things from the ground and threw them all into the trash can. Lu Jingchi frowned slightly, hesitating as he said, if you really can't bear to part with them, it's not like you absolutely can't. No need. I cut him off, my voice indifferent. Seeing that I really wasn't angry, the corners of Lu Jingchi's lips curved into a faint smile. I knew it. Ying always listens to me the most. After they left, I stood there for a long time. Lu Jingchi was right. All these years, what was the point of stubbornly holding on to those old things, deceiving myself and others? It was enough to just hold my daughter tightly in my heart. An hour later, the rain stopped. Lu Jingchi didn't return, and I wouldn't wait for him anymore. 05. When I returned, Lu Jingchi was in the kitchen cooking for his little darling. Seeing me, a look of obvious awkwardness crossed his face. Huan was hungry. I was worried she'd get hungry and it would affect the baby, so I planned to finish cooking and then go look for you. Zhang Huan sat cross-legged on the sofa eating fruit, giggling smugly as she looked up triumphantly. Clearly, Brother Jingchi said Ms. Chow was all wet and knew her way home. He wanted to cook for me himself, so he wasn't going to pick you up. My expression remained calm, as if I hadn't heard anything. I went upstairs in my soaking wet clothes. The man standing in front of the kitchen door watched me go, startled back to attention only when Huan called out to him. Having not slept all night, I just took a quick hot shower and went to bed. When I woke up, it was almost noon. Just as I was about to sit up, my head spun, and I realized I had a fever. When Huan walked in, I was collapsing back onto the bed, my cheeks flushed with heat. She leaned against the doorframe, her eyes no different from the day she caused me to miscarry. When are you finally going to talk about divorce with brother Jingchi? Don't tell me you regret it now. Chowing, be a little smarter. You lost a child and still couldn't do anything to me. You still want to fight. That's right. In this life, no matter what Huan did, Lu Jingchi could always find a reason to forgive her. In his eyes, I would always be the loser. Provoked by her words, a lump in my throat made me gasp for breath. That miserable state was conveniently seen by Lu Jingchi, who had come to find Huan. He immediately rushed over, while the woman beside him skillfully fell into his arms. Lu Jingchi was flustered, not even glancing at me, and shouted downstairs, "Quickly call Dr. Chen." The housekeeper downstairs brought me fever medicine and helped me drink it. I told the master already that you had a high fever. He said he'll have Dr. Chen come examine you later. Please bear with it. I drifted off to sleep, and when I woke up, it was almost late at night. Dr. Chen had left a long time ago, and he hadn't come. Even the housekeeper who brought water hadn't reappeared. I opened my phone and saw that Lu Jingchi's rarely used social media account had just posted a 9-photo travel album 2 hours ago. Huan was wearing a swimsuit, her pregnant belly even more prominent. She was surrounded and closely protected by Lu Jingchi and his group of close friends. But when I was pregnant, Lu Jingchi said I was heavy and slow, yet he had taken Huan on trips alone more than once. The house was empty. I had a fever all day and all night, and no one noticed. In the end, it was the housekeeper who had the day off but was worried about me, who secretly came back to check on me. She discovered that I had fainted from a high fever and hurriedly took me to the emergency room. She stood in the hospital hallway, hesitating for a long time before finally deciding to call Lu Jingchi. He answered the phone, his voice carrying the laziness and joy of having fun. "What's up?" The housekeeper looked at my pale face and pursed her lips. "Master, Ms. Jiang wouldn't let Dr. Chen examine the madam. The madam has a fever and is in a coma, currently in the emergency room." The wine glass in his hand fell to the ground with a thud. Lu Jingchi, still in his swimsuit, didn't have time to think and rushed straight towards the airport. 06. I woke up to a bout of arguing. Opening my eyes, I realized it was Lu Jingchi and his precious little darling arguing. His face was full of awkwardness as he lowered his head in silence. Huan didn't speak either, but tears kept streaming down her face. Finally, he sighed helplessly and held her in his arms to comfort her. I coughed softly. His back stiffened and he slowly released her. He sat down beside the bed and gently placed his hand on my forehead. "Ying, are you still feeling unwell? It's my fault for leaving you alone at home with no one to take care of you." I turned my face away, avoiding his touch. "I want some water." But even after Lu Jingchi helped me drink a glass of water, Huan still stood there unmoving. I found it strange and looked up. Only then did she offer a faint, ambiguous smile. Lu Jingchi put down the glass, for the first time not daring to look directly into my eyes. "Ying, the baby in Huan's belly is about to be born. I have to give it a legitimate status." The words that followed, he spoke hesitantly, as if unsure how to continue. Huan walked over and took his pale, veiny hand. Lu Jingchi took a deep breath. "If you don't want to raise this child, then let's get a divorce." After saying that, his hand clenched into a fist. I looked at the couple in front of me for a long time without saying a word. Zhang Huan, afraid I wouldn't agree, generously offered me conditions. Finally I spoke. Just tell me, I'm sorry 10 times and then slap yourself 10 times, and I'll agree to the divorce. 07. Lu Jingchi, who had been looking down, suddenly snapped his head up. I laughed with disdain. Do you really think I'm that easily manipulated? Besides, this request isn't too much to ask of Zhang Huan either. Although back then, her pitiful appearance had overshadowed the fact that she caused me to miscarry. But everyone knew that Zhang Huan had been in love with Lu Jingchi for 10 years. She wouldn't spare any girl who even came into contact with her brother Jingchi. I was pregnant with his child. How could she possibly let me off the hook? Lu Jingchi seemed a little reluctant, but Zhang Huan nodded decisively in agreement. She forced a bitter smile, her eyes tearful but extremely resolute. Brother Jingchi, for the sake of our child, I'll agree to any condition. The apologies poured out of her mouth without hesitation. Each time she spoke a sentence, a hard slap landed on her face. Because she knew that to completely win over Lu Jingchi, she had to completely satisfy me. In less than a few minutes, her face was swollen and disfigured. By the end, Lu Jingchi's eyes were full of angry fire. Even when we lost our daughter, he had never been this angry. I stayed in the hospital for a week. Lu Jingchi never returned. I understood. He was angry at me for bullying his precious little darling. He had already begun to hate me, but now I couldn't be bothered to care about his hatred anymore. On the day of my discharge, I still had to return to the Lu family home to collect a few things. During the 3 years he was away on business, when I learned he had kept Zhang Huan by his side and made her his secretary, I had already prepared everything for the divorce. Over the past 3 years, the living expenses he transferred to my account, I had saved all of it. Perhaps feeling guilty, that amount of money increased each year. If it were before, I would have refused and returned the card to him. But now it would be a waste not to take it. I still didn't know the new passcode to the house. I pressed the doorbell, and 6 pairs of eyes at the dining table simultaneously looked towards me. Their gazes were truly ridiculously indescribable. 08. The first to speak was Zhang Huan, who now acted like the mistress of the house. Xiaoying, what are you doing back here? I picked up the slippers that had been tossed into the corner and replied indifferently. Lu Jingchi and I aren't divorced yet. Why can't I come back? As soon as I finished speaking, the expressions of my ever-proud parents-in-law also became awkward. I didn't look at anyone and went straight upstairs. Less than 5 minutes later, I dragged my suitcase downstairs. Lu Jingchi stood blocking my way, his eyes staring intently without blinking. You can leave after you've eaten. I glanced at the dining table where 6 people were sitting neatly. If I sat down, wouldn't that make it 7? He also realized that and gradually loosened his grip. Zhang Huan's eyes flickered back and forth between the two of us, and she suddenly called out as I was about to leave. I recently lost a bracelet. I've searched the whole house and can't find it. Can I see your suitcase? Lu Jingchi's face immediately darkened, and he shot her a displeased glance. But just a few of her tears easily made him give in. He turned to me, hesitating as he spoke. Huan is being stubborn. Just let her take a look. If she doesn't find anything, she'll feel better. Zhang Huan's mother stood beside her, her eyes full of contempt, her tone sour. My daughter's bracelet is worth millions. Who knows if someone saw the money and conveniently pocketed it? I understood clearly that if I didn't do as Zhang Huan wished, I wouldn't be able to leave here today. Everything in the suitcase had been packed by me personally. I wasn't afraid of them searching. I opened the suitcase myself. Inside were just a few sets of clothes I usually wore. Besides that, I hadn't brought anything else. Zhang Huan searched through it and somehow pulled out the safety lock I had custom-made for my daughter. I watched blankly as the lock fell in front of me, and then she raised her foot and stomped down hard on it. A corner of the lock's surface was dented. It was the corner engraved with my daughter's name. I bit my lip tightly, carefully picked up the item, my eyes never leaving Huan, who was smiling brightly as if provoking me. My arm swung high and came down with a sharp force. The loud sound of slaps echoed throughout the living room. 09. Huan's mother saw blood trickling from her daughter's lip and immediately lunged at me, intending to strike. But before her hand could reach me, someone intercepted it mid-air. Lu Jingchi showed no emotion, his voice cold and flat. In my house, laying a hand on my wife is a bit much. His mother finally spoke, siding with me. Xiao Ying is still the young mistress of the Lu family. Madame Jiang should think carefully before acting. The atmosphere instantly became awkward. I retrieved the safety lock and silently slipped it into my pocket. Picking up my suitcase, I prepared to leave. But Lu Jingchi pulled me back again. He held my hand tightly, refusing to let go, and then looked towards Huan and her parents. "Uncle, Aunt, I'm not planning on marrying Huan anymore." This time Huan truly burst into tears. She pushed her mother's hand away and rushed in front of Lu Jingchi, sobbing and pleading. "Brother Jingchi, I know I was wrong. Don't joke about this and hurt me like this." Lu Jingchi took a step back, pulling me closer to him. "That safety lock, I personally engraved our daughter's name on it. Huan, you used my deceased daughter to bully my wife. You've crossed my bottom line." The elaborate makeup on Huan's face was smeared with tears. It turned out that when truly heartbroken, no one could cry as beautifully as in imagination. Realizing Lu Jingchi was serious, Zhang's parents didn't dare to persuade him further. Lu's parents also remained completely silent. Huan's previous actions were clearly intentional to everyone. And my unborn daughter was, after all, the Lu family's granddaughter. It wasn't until Huan nearly fainted from crying that I slowly unwrapped Lu Jingchi's hand from mine. I picked up my suitcase and said in a clear voice that everyone could hear, "Lu Jingchi, I want a divorce." His back trembled slightly. He turned his head, asking in disbelief, "Ying, what did you just say?" I pointed to Huan's large belly. "Do you think that things being like this, I can still continue to live with you?" His prolonged silence was the answer. On the day of the divorce, we both arrived very early. In less than 10 minutes, the marriage that had once filled us with unwavering belief had ended. That year, Lu Jingchi and I fell in love willingly. No one supported us, and no one thought we could make it to marriage. Because I was just an ordinary girl. And Lu Jingchi was the aloof and powerful CEO of the Lu Corporation. The only reason I steadfastly stayed by his side was because, at that time, Lu Jingchi truly loved me. He would never let me suffer a loss because of anyone or anything. But everything changed when his childhood sweetheart, Huan, returned from overseas. He had never told me that he had a childhood sweetheart who had pursued him for 10 years. His group of close friends, who had never bothered to even glance at me once, respectfully called her sister-in-law. On our wedding day, Huan almost fell from the sky, disrupting our ceremony. That was the first time he chose to hurt me. On our wedding night, she stubbornly refused to leave our bridal chamber. He once again abandoned me and sat there comforting her all night. That night I sat motionless all night. For the first time I began to regret marrying him. After that, I was harmed by his childhood sweetheart to the point of miscarrying. Lu Jingchi didn't even bother to show up, immediately arranging everything to send Huan abroad. At that time I already knew. This marriage was truly a mistake. In the blink of an eye, that wrong marriage had lasted 6 years. Finally ended. Leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I hailed a taxi, not saying a word to him. Nor did I say goodbye. Lu Jingchi stood rooted to the spot, watching me get into the car. Without a word, I went straight to the airport and took out the plane ticket I had bought in advance. Left the place where I had imprisoned myself for so many years for the sake of the wrong man. 11. After divorcing Xiao Ying, Lu Jingchi's mind suddenly went blank. He didn't know how his life would continue, watching the car carrying her gradually disappear into the distance. He desperately chased after it. But no matter how hard he tried, he only realized that the distance between them was growing further and further. Finally, Lu Jingchi collapsed to the ground, exhausted, and burst into tears. He had never thought that there would be a day Xiao Ying wouldn't need him anymore. He had always known she was a very soft-hearted girl, and it was precisely because of that soft heart that he had done so many wrong things. Initially, Lu Jingchi only had a slight fondness for Xiao Ying, but wanting to make Huan give up, he decided to pursue the rare girl who made him feel a connection. Actually, pursuing Xiao Ying was very difficult. Although she clearly showed her emotions, even when her face was flushed with embarrassment, she stubbornly refused to nod her head in agreement with him. From his initial casualness, Lu Jingchi gradually became serious. It took him 2 whole years to break through the tight defenses around her heart. The day he proposed to Xiao Ying, he was sincere. He disregarded his family's objections and married a wife who wasn't his social equal. At that time he truly loved her. But later too many things happened. Huan had been stubborn and willful since childhood. He was afraid that if he pushed her too hard, she would do something drastic. Therefore many times he chose to hurt his wife. From initial guilt, it gradually became a habit. Once it started, it couldn't be stopped. 12. The day before Huan gave birth, Lu Jingchi finally went with her to register their marriage. As she wished, Huan gave birth to a baby boy for him. Both families were overjoyed, surrounding the newborn baby, laughing and talking endlessly. Only Lu Jing didn't dare to look at that child. Just one look, and he would remember the child he and Xiao Ying never got to meet. At that time, her pregnancy had begun to show. Every night, he would press his ear to her belly to listen to the baby's movements. His heart filled with anticipation for the little life about to enter the world. But that baby didn't arrive as he had hoped. The day Xiao Ying fell down the stairs, it wasn't that he didn't suspect Huan. He knew she was capable of it. But Zhang's parents used the past favor the Lu family owed them to beg him to spare their daughter this once. And Lu Jingchi was someone who valued promises the most. He couldn't refuse. Sending Huan abroad wasn't because he was afraid Xiao Ying would hate her and do something, but because he was afraid that he himself wouldn't be able to resist strangling the person who killed his daughter. After that incident, he had no face to see Xiao Ying again. He volunteered to go abroad on a business trip, not returning for 3 years. He didn't expect that his group of close friends wouldn't be able to resist Huan's pleas and brought her to his side. He had spared her once. How could he spare her again? Lu Jingchi kept her by his side, assigning her all the heavy work, coupled with the deliberate suppression from colleagues. He coldly watched, tormenting her for 2 years. But she didn't say a word, silently bearing all the revenge from him. As time passed, no matter how hard Lu Jingchi's heart was, it gradually softened. Later, Huan, with red eyes, told him that to make up for the mistakes of her youthful impulsiveness, she was willing to give birth to a child for him in Xiao Ying's place. Lu Jingchi had seen Xiao Ying's anticipation for their child. That day he admitted he had wavered. And so, once there was a first time, there would be countless times after. 15. A long time ago, I had already bought a house in a livable city. The day after returning to my hometown, my retired parents and I moved there. The 2 elderly people knew I was sad and constantly thought of ways to take me out, to let me experience the vast world outside. For the next half a year, I traveled everywhere with my parents almost every day. When things settled down, I found a leisurely job to kill time. Every day was a punctual life, 8 to 5. That day, a senior executive from the head office suddenly came to inspect. Upon meeting, it was a familiar face. Xiachen saw me and didn't seem too surprised. He just glanced at me and then led his entourage away with a rustling of footsteps. But near the end of the workday, I was called into the CEO's office. The man sitting in the swivel chair had his back to me, not saying a word. Actually, I didn't have much goodwill towards Lu Jingchi's close circle of friends. Seeing that he didn't speak, I turned to leave. But a warm male voice called me back. Xiaoying, seeing an acquaintance and not saying hello? The man finally turned around and walked up to me. His eyes were full of hidden currents, making me a little flustered, and I avoided that burning gaze. President Xie, may I ask why you called me? It's almost time to get off work. His wolf-like gaze remained fixed on me. After a moment of silence, he suddenly asked, "Were you this hot-tempered in front of Lu Jingchi too?" Before I could answer, he shook his head. "No. If you were, you would have divorced him 3 years ago." 14. I didn't like other people discussing my private life. At this point, I was genuinely a little angry. But Xie didn't seem to notice the tense atmosphere and continued. "Lu Jingchi is married and has the son he wanted. I heard he seems to regret it and is looking for you everywhere, wanting to remarry. What do you say? Should I tell him I've found you?" This time, I finally raised my head and looked directly into his eyes. "Xie, my affairs are none of your business." He raised an eyebrow slightly and let out a very soft laugh, but there wasn't a hint of amusement in it. "Only when his name is mentioned will you even look at me. Rest assured, I want to keep him from finding you even more than you do." His words were very abrupt, making me feel extremely uncomfortable. I almost ran away from there. From that day on, Xie stayed at this branch office indefinitely. If I didn't realize his feelings for me, I would truly be a fool. But, having been involved with Lu Jingchi for so many years, how could anyone truly be good? I wouldn't allow myself to be confused again. On the day I submitted my resignation, Xie didn't allow it. He pulled me into his office and even locked the door. He asked me, "Xiaoying, how much longer are you going to keep running away like a coward? Clearly Lu Jingchi and Zhangdi Huan were wrong, yet you're living like a defeated runaway. You clearly like this job, so why do you want to escape?" He moved closer, his dark eyes staring intently at me. "If you don't like me, just reject me. Why do you have to leave?" That day, I admitted to myself that his words had hit a nerve. He was right. In matters of the heart, I had always been a coward. It was like that before, and it still was. I thought, perhaps it was time for me to be brave once. 15. 3 years later, Xie and I were still working at the same company. But this time we were about to get married. That day, perhaps provoked by him, I was brave to an excessive degree, actually choosing to be with a man I initially hadn't even taken seriously. Xie was very different from Lu Jingchi. Being with him, he never crossed the line with teasing that would make me blush. He was always polite, always subtly paying attention to every small habit in my life. 3 years, consistent from beginning to end. Not everyone could pretend like that. The night I agreed to Xie proposal, my mother softly asked me, "Ying, have you really thought this through this time?" I nodded, extremely certain. Because now, I had enough courage to bear all the consequences. Even if this marriage failed again. At most, there would be a divorce. The wedding was held at the Xie family villa, and I returned to that city once more. As soon as we got off the plane, Xie friends immediately organized a gathering for him, celebrating that their 36-year-old woman-immune brother had finally found someone he loved. He insisted on taking me along. I nestled in his arms, chuckled softly, my hand gently resting on his chest. "Aren't you afraid Lu Jingchi will be there too?" He affectionately touched the tip of my nose and whispered in my ear, "It's precisely because I know he'll be there that I brought you along." In some ways, Xie brand of mischievousness was even worse than Lu Jingchi's. Unable to argue with him, I went along. Arriving at the club, I let him go in first while I went to the restroom. When I came out, I unexpectedly encountered Lu Jingchi in the hallway. The man before me, perhaps having become a father, looked somewhat older and more melancholic than before. He saw me, so surprised that he rubbed his eyes. His lifeless eyes instantly lit up, and he staggered towards me, as if unable to control himself. But at that moment, a familiar voice rang out, stopping him in the middle of the hallway. "Brother Jingchi, what are you doing?" 16. Zhang Huan walked out from the end of the hallway, her figure noticeably plump. Looking closely, I realized she was pregnant again. Lu Jingchi had his back to her, his eyes looking at me with longing and pain about to overflow. But he still didn't dare to take a step towards me. It wasn't until Zhang Huan slowly linked her arm with his that I saw. Her wrist was covered in a mess of long and short, uneven scars. The newest one hadn't even fully scabbed over yet. We looked at each other for a long time. Finally, she pulled Lu Jingchi, who clearly didn't want to leave, into the banquet hall. I sighed and followed them in. My appearance surprised everyone in the room, especially on Lu Jingchi's face. A fleeting hint of joy flashed across it. Zhang Huan pinched him and glared at me. "Xiaoying, you're truly shameless. Tell me, when did you and brother Jingchi start sneaking around?" Before I could even open my mouth, Lu Jingchi pulled his hand away from her, his face turning cold. "Zhang Huan, stop being unreasonable. Today is the first time I've seen Yingying again." Whether it was because she was pregnant, Zhang Huan's emotions were even more volatile than 3 years ago. She pulled a small knife from somewhere and pressed it directly against her wrist. "Brother Jingchi, if you don't cut ties with her, I'll die in front of you." Lu Jingchi's previous imposing manner instantly deflated. I also understood that their relationship over the past few years had always been maintained by this kind of soft threat. Then he let go of her hand, and the dim light shone on his face, truly heartbreakingly handsome. "Yingying, come here," Xiachen called out to me. He put his arm around my shoulders, and in front of everyone's eyes, raised my ring finger, which wore an enormous diamond ring. "Allow me to introduce everyone, my wife, Xiaoying." Lu Jingchi turned his head, as if he had just heard a ridiculous joke. In contrast, Zhang Huan put away the knife and offered a gentle smile. "Congratulations." Then she pulled Lu Jingchi, who was frozen like a statue, out of the room. The party ended not long after that. Getting into the car, Xiachen and his friends stood outside smoking. I vaguely heard someone say, "No wonder you agreed to bring Zhang Huan to Jingchi's side back then. So you had already set your sights on Xiaoying." The man didn't reply, just chuckled softly. 5 years later, under the care of doctors, Xiachen and I finally welcomed the little life that belonged to us. This time I hoped it would be a girl. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed the vibes, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and maybe share it with your favorite human. I'll see you in the next story.